Halo, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon all. My name is Muhammad Shevadiego Syani, and today I will doing a presentation about meeting 13, cross-cultural understanding, the worldwide cultures, African's culture. Okay, let's get started. Number 1, Africa's continent. Africa is now widely recognized as the birthplace of the hominidae, the taxonomic family to which modern humans belong. Archaeological evidence indicates that the continent has been inhabited by humans and their forebears for some 4 million years or more. Automatically, modern humans are believed to have appeared as early as 200,000 years ago in the eastern region of sub-Saharan Africa. Somewhat later, those early humans spread into northern Africa and the Middle East, and ultimately to the rest of the world. The most important unit in Africa is family or tribe. As the smallest unit of society, they are live in the village where foods are gathered. The leader of the family or the tribe is the elder from the village. The function of the leader is as the judge to give the rule, the norm, and the value or tribe. The rule consists of individual rights, duties, marriage rule, inheritance, even the succession. The value of Africans live is believing that social relationship is more important. They believe that the close relationship based on trust and sincerity are highly valued. Africa is the most tropical of all the continents. Some 4/5 of its territory rests between the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn. As a consequence, the cultures and the physical variations of the peoples reflect adaptation to both hot, dry climates and hot, wet climates. Dark skin is the dominant characteristic of indigenous African peoples, but skin color is not uniform. Skin color shows a clinical variation from a light or tan color in the northern fringe of the continent, which has a Mediterranean climate, to very dark skin in certain Sardinic regions in Western and East Africa, where radiation from the sun has been most intense. Africa has the most physically varied population in the world, from the tallest peoples to the shortest. Body form and facial and other morphological features also vary widely. It is the continent with the greatest human genetic variation, reflecting its evolutionary role as a source of all human DNA. Culture areas. Although the precise number is unknown, there are several thousand different societies or ethnic groups in Africa. They are identified by their recognition of a common culture, language, religion, and history. But in some areas, the boundaries among the ethnic groups and communities, like village, towns, farm areas, may not always be clear to the outsider. Most Africans speak more than one language, and frequent migration and interactions, including intermarriage, with other people have often blurred ethnic distinctions. There are estimated 900 to 1,500 different languages. But many distinct political units share a common or similar language, as among the Yoruba, Hausa, and Swahili-speaking peoples. Complicating the situation in the 20th century was the creation of new tribes, such as Zande or Azande and Luo, that had not been distinct polities before the colonial era. Ethnic, cultural identities in modern times have often been heightened, exacerbated, or muted for political reasons. Northern Africa. Africa north of the Sahara is differentiated from the rest of the continent by its Mediterranean climate and by its long history of political and cultural contacts with peoples outside of Africa. It is physically separated from the rest of the continent by the Atlas Mountains and is inhabited primarily by peoples who speak language that belong to the Afro-Asiatic group. Those people include, for example, the Imezigan or Berbers of Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia. The Berbers are most numerous in Morocco and least in Tunisia, where, as a result of culture contact and intermarriage, they have become largely assimilated with Arabs who speak a Semitic language. The Arabs become largely assimilated with. The Arabs migrated into North Africa from Arabia in a number of waves. The first of those waves occurred in the 7th century CA. The distinctive nature of Maghrebian or Western Arab culture resulted from that admixture in the Sahara such Arab people as the Sahwa lived side by side with such Berber peoples as the Tuareg. See also Islamic world. West until Central Africa. West until Central Africa may be considered as an eastern extension of Western Africa. In the north are the savannas of Chad, the Central African Republic, Sudan, and South Sudan, stretching to the Nile River, and in the south is the largely forested area of the Congo River Basin. The Congo area is the center of the continent. Is an extension of the west forestlands of the Guinea coast. It extends to the lacustrine area of Eastern Africa. That region is the largest area of secondary tropical forest in the world. Only South America has more primary undisturbed by human. Tropical forests. The vast majority of people speak a related language of the Bantu family. The Luba, Lunda, Fang, Mongo, Kuba, Songe, and Chokwe are among the larger ethnic groups of West until Central Africa. The Bambuti or Pygmy people live in eastern forests, and smaller groups of Pygmy peoples live in the western forests of Gabon. Eastern Africa. Eastern Africa can also be divided into several regions. The northern mountainous area, known as the Horn of Africa, comprises Djibouti, Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Somalia. In the east is the arid Somali Desert. The coastal area extends from Kenya to southern Africa, where numerous trading cities arose beginning in the 10th century. The East African Rift System intersects Eastern Africa, running from north to south. The region, particularly in the areas of the East African lakes, Victoria, Albert, Tanganyika, and Nyasa or Malawi, contains some of the most fertile land in Africa, and during the colonial period, it attracts settlers from Europe and Asia. Central and Southern Africa. Central and Southern Africa may be considered as a single large cultural area. Most of it consists of open and dry savanna grasslands. The northwest contains the edge of the Congo forest. The southwest is very arid, and the coastline of South Africa and Mozambique is fertile, most of it with a subtropical or Mediterranean climate. The region was once populated by Khoisan-speaking peoples. The San are today restricted to the arid areas of southwestern Africa and Botswana, and most of the Khoi are found in the Cape region of South Africa. The other indigenous groups are all Bantu-speaking peoples, originally from the area of Cameroon, who dispersed across the region some 200 years ago, 2,000 years ago. The vanguard, known linguistically as the Southern Bantu, drove the Khoikhoi and San before them and adopted some of the typically Khoisan click sounds into their own language. Cultural pattern, language. The knowledge of most of the individual language of Africa is still very incomplete, but there are known to be in excess of 1,500 distinct languages, meaning the language and because of a confusion relating language, race, and economy. For example, there was once a spurious view of pastoralism and related to cultures whose members spoke Hamitic language and were descendants of ancient Egyptians. One of the more recent attempts to classify all the African language prepared by the American linguist Joseph Greenberg is based on the principle of linguistic analysis, use it for Indo-European language rather than on geographic, ethnic, or other non-linguistic criteria. The four main language families or phyla of the continent are now considered to be Niger Congo, Nilo-Saharan, Afro-Asiatic, and Khoisan. Religions. In general, the peoples of Northern Africa adhere predominantly to Islam, and those in Southern Africa largely to Christianity. Although their distribution are not discrete, for example, the Coptic Church is found in Egypt and Ethiopia, and Islam is common along the coast of Eastern Africa and is expanding southward in Western Africa. Many of the Sarditic peoples, such as the Malinke, Hausa, Songhai, and Borno, are Islamized, and the religion has also achieved substantial gains among such Guinea coast people as the Yoruba of Nigeria and the Temne of Sierra Leone. Much conversion to Christianity also has occurred, most notably to Roman Catholicism and in the coastal regions of sub-Saharan Africa. In most of the rest sub-Saharan Africa, the people practice a variety of traditional religions which have certain common features. All those now include the notion of a high or creator God, remote from humans and beyond their comprehension or control. The God typically is not attributed a gender, but in some cases is male or female. Often God is given an immanent and visible aspect as well. The most important spiritual powers are usually associated with things or beings with which people have day-to-day contacts or that they know from the past. Thus, there may be many kinds and levels of spirits of the air, of the earth, of rivers, and so on. There may be ancestors and ghosts of the dead who have achieved a partial divinity, or there may be mythical heroes who led the people to their prison land and founded the society as it known today. Domestic groupings. The forms of the family found in Africa are consistent with the form of economic production. Throughout most of the rural areas, the typical domestic group is the joint or extended family consisting of several generations of kind and their spouses, the whole being under the authority of the senior male. The size of the group varies, but it typically consists of 3 to 5 generations of kin. It provides a stable and long-lasting domestic unit able to work as a single cooperative group to defend itself against others and to care for all of its members throughout their lifetimes. Polygyny is traditionally widespread as an ideal. Its extent depending on the status and wealth of the husband. Chiefs and rulers need many wives to give them a mark of high position and to enable them to offer hospitality to their subjects. Okay, that's all explained for me. I'm sorry if there are mistake or misinformation about the material. I hope you can understand that I and we all still learning. Okay, thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.